Right, hi everyone. So before I actually start this, just want to check with everyone, how many of you are Singaporeans? A few? Okay, it's good to see you guys. And how many of you are developers? It's quite a few. And for the rest of you, I guess you guys are just relatively interested in this space. So what I'm going to talk about today is reactive. So we created this interoperable execution layer of blockchain. What does this all mean? And I asked about developers and so on. It's really just to understand the crowd. How deep do I need to go into the tech and so on. Without further ado, I'll probably jump into this. I think if those of you who were in Web3 from the earliest days, you probably will understand what I'm talking about. And actually earlier, there was a question that, one of the questions that Vitalik actually answered, like smart contracts respond to states and not events. Actually, what does that mean? If you're not a coder, it's okay. Actually, what you see on stage, this is what it means. If you look on the left, actually, that is the typical experience on the internet. Basically, on Android, on your phones, on the browser, you have a browser app. If you're a developer, you build something, you deploy a code, it basically reacts to changes around its states directly. In other words, if you deploy a code on some server that's connected to the internet and you say, look out for this sort of things that's happening on open source, it will just look out for it and it will respond. If this, then that, you can code that in. It will perform the functions and so on, and it will go straight to the applications, which means for a developer or anyone building an app or a business, it helps a lot to automate a lot of the functions. But on Web3, in fact, Vitalik mentioned a very, very important thing because for a lot of us, we were not there in the early days. 10 years ago, if you were not in the development of Ethereum, you might not know. He actually mentioned that this is a very difficult thing to do, and there's a lot of complexity involved. And therefore, actually, if you look at it from basically, in terms you want to deploying a code on smart contracts, top down on the right-hand side, the code cannot respond to on-chain events, only states. It cannot take data or respond across blockchains. Well, blockchains are built to be on its own. They don't talk. And that's why a lot of people come in and build other more centralized products that enable data to go from one chain to the other. But by itself, they don't talk to other chains. So what happens? You still need to build a business. You need to build something. And therefore, you have to take it off your chain, standardize it. You feed it to a Web2 base code, which on the left-hand side, they can. And they respond to data. The Web2 base code will then perform some functions, reconnect back to a Web3 node, and then execute it. Essentially, there's multiple different codes written in multiple different languages on different architecture, trying to bridge the whole thing. But on the left-hand side, theoretically, it's possible to do everything in one single architecture, which is the Web2 side of the house. And if we want a Web3 mass adoption, I think we feel that we need to make the development process feel just as seamless as Web2. Like, why do it as complex as the right-hand side if we can do it on the left-hand side? And essentially, that's what we did. We are not perfectly decentralized. I think that's something I want to come out and raise my hands and say that it is imperfect in that sense. Why do I mean by that? I'll explain further. But right now, we felt that there is an interactivity gap. And the interactivity gap is that you need to go off-chain and then come back on-chain again. Essentially, what you see on the left-hand side of the screen here is this, which I sort of explained a little bit earlier, but now put in the form of a blockchain architectural diagram. You put it off the chain. Usually there's an indexer, sort of tidy it up for you, sort of bookmark it, tells the system, okay, this sort of data is what. And then there's external code, so Web2 based code. And in between, behind the scenes, there's data storage, transaction signings, all sorts of different things with different kind of architecture involved, and then it comes back to the blockchain. What you see on chain, blockchain A and blockchain B could be the same blockchain actually, And that's actually extremely surprising to people who has never built on Web3 before, but you're on Web2. And you'll be like, isn't it just if this then that, and that's it? But you can't do if this and that on Web3, on a smart contract. That's something that could be shocking to you if you're a developer. What we do is we really try to put in this function back on smart contracts. And how do we do it? We created a reactive network, which is kind of like in-between layer. We are on-chain. Any smart contract built on us will have this reactive function. And now blockchain A can observe blockchain B in terms of events happening. Dapps, anything that you build on the blockchain architecture, they can talk to each other. So what we want to bring to actually this industry is that we want to underpin more complex smart contract functions that's on-chain, reactive. Things that happens, the smart contract spot it immediately, and it will have a reaction which could possibly spur on more reactions. Actually, that's what's already going on in the non-Web3 side of the house. By doing so, it's conditional and reactive. It will close this interoperability gap for applications, and will streamline the user experience. Actually, a show of hands as well, who plays with DeFi applications? Like you go to Uniswap, etc. With a few of you. Okay. And does it frustrate you that every time you do a transaction, you have to click 3 times? Like you agree to this, and then you agree to how much you're spending, and then it executes. There's a lot of people who's coming forward to say that, okay, they provide a solution to kind of just have one signature, but all of those are also centralized solutions. Basically, if they go bust, they go bankrupt, that's it, it's gone. But what we're trying to do here is to solve it at a smart contract level. Can you, as you build your platform, you have an auxiliary smart contract that's reactive, that can spot the events, and that enables your users to come to your platform and they just have a single click, for example. And it goes, of course, deeper than just single click. It goes a lot deeper into the user experience, even intent-centric applications, powering everything that's happening behind the scenes. How it works is, this is just a very, very simplified version of how it is. We created an internal layer that can observe the live events, retrieve the histories automatically. So it's push basis rather than every time you request, you pull it. It will compute the data and execute the logic that you put in. Which means that if you didn't say to look out for certain things, your reactive smart contract wouldn't look out for it. But if you say that, hey, look out for this type of events on this kind of blockchains, it will do it. And only the execution, which means that your code says that if you spot this kind of thing, compute and then react. The reaction, that's where you pay the gas fees. In effect, compared to the old way of doing things, the old way of doing things is pull all the data off chain because you don't know what is it. You pull everything off. You have to sort everything out and then find the sort of data that you want. There's already a lot of upfront computing that you have to pay for. And then when you react, you still have to pay for gas, of course. But essentially, we cut out the difficult part right at the beginning. We streamline it and make sure that your smart contract can see what's going on. This is something of a game changer. But it is not perfect, which I mentioned earlier. Why is it not perfect? Because number one, we are not exactly a layer 1 or layer 2. To me, that's like kind of the holy grail where you're layer 1 and layer 2, and actually your smart contracts are already reactive. There are certain kind of sacrifices you need to put in. And number two, we are not 100% decentralized. We are built as a decentralized blockchain architecture, yes. But in order for us to actually achieve reactive smart contracts, the validators and so on, that there needs to be certain sacrifices involved. I would say that we are, instead of the old way of doing it, which 100% centralized, which is to pull everything off and then coming on, we are probably somewhere in between. Will we eventually be fully decentralized? That's actually something we're working towards. In fact, one of our first steps is to get external validators. We didn't have external validators for the first 6 months or so. We've been live for about 6 months now because we needed to fix a lot of bugs and so on, because this is very new. And then once external validators are coming in the next quarter or so, that's where we are decentralized. What are the use cases? Actually, I mentioned earlier that we have already been live for about 6 months. And what it means is that actually we are seeing real use cases. I'm just going to talk through. I'm not I'm not going to like name off everything that's on screen. You can take a look, but I'm going to select certain key highlights. So for example, DEXs, they use hook-like functionalities, they streamline the buybacks, etc. We have New Era, Shogun, actually the up-and-coming DEXs, quite interesting. We have lending platforms, this thing called Reactive. There's liquidation protection, even stop orders, and so on. ReactPad is another one, which is like a Dow and Launchpad. SocialFi, actually, I just want to hover there a little bit because that was actually very interesting to me. Smart Trust, for example, is a Canadian project that's trying to basically bridge this gap in remote workers. So one problem for remote workers, especially if you're contract-based, you're on Fiverr, etc., is you take on a contract, a very small contract, it could be just like $2,000 worth, and you're saying that, hey, I'm going to do this one time off and I get paid. But sometimes they do, your employer, so to speak, refuse to honor that for different reasons. Maybe they are not happy with what you did. Maybe different people have different understanding of the scope of the project and so on. Then who's going to arbitrate between these disagreements? They're coming forward to design a decentralized arbitration mechanism. And at the final part, it's actually having a lawyer who's involved coming in to read the contract and saying that which side he's going to take sides with. And everything is going to be powered on blockchain. I was like, hey, this is pretty good. There are other kind of use cases as well. Rogue Studios, actually, they are pretty popular game studios on Web3. They're using reactive smart contracts as well. Dex Trade, they're actually using us for UX enhancements. I was talking about like just one single click. I was talking also about NFT automated ticket, cross-chain assets availability checks, etc. This is something that is already happening. And right now, you'll be thinking, actually, a lot of these functions, a lot of people have sort of solved it before. Yes, but they are always solving it by taking the data off-chain and then coming it on again. And that third-party vendor that they're working with, you have to ensure that they are alive for the next, say, 3 years of your business. Anytime that they go down, you go down. And what we are doing is decentralized. It's a smart contract. As long as the entire network is live, and the network is being decentralized, it will be live, like Ethereum, and everything will be powered, and everything will work accordingly. So I think in the context of today as well, for the academia and for the rest of you who are so interested, I think these are some open questions that we at Reactive Network actually would like to pose to you guys. And feel free to ask me questions as well. Actually, I think I have about 5 minutes where any one of you can ask me any questions. But really look at it. This is right now where we are, the first box. We're the first step towards a more secure and organic blockchain ecosystem. First step. We are half decentralized. Eventually, we probably will be fully decentralized. But I see it as the first step of many for Web3 to really be, I think, believing in these principles. Right now, at the beginning, it was difficult to do. Vitalik actually already said it. And there was a lot of sacrifices that Ethereum didn't want to put in. So Ethereum have basically publishing functions. Anything happens, the smart contract publishes the events, but there were no what we call subscription, basically seeing other events. And now we've created these functions into Web3. Now there's more options for faster build cycles. In fact, that's actually a very important problem. Uniswap has been around for a number of years, and they're at version 4. Shouldn't they be on version 30 or something like that? If they're building on an Android or iPhone, they're probably at version 30, right? Because each time there's a development cycle, it's probably going to take weeks. But why is it that they take months or even years just to reach version 4? It's because of this. Every time they need to fix one part, they need to fix 6 parts, not just one. And I think the question for the academia is basically this: the root of Ethereum, they touch on the needs of the full business case. You need to touch on the whole needs, because if you want to build anything on Web3, you need to think about it from a business angle. So what are the design considerations from the blockchain trilemma? And I think for institutions as well, for fintech, fund transfers, derivatives, will a more decentralized infrastructure be favored by a more centralized institution? Like if I'm a bank, I obviously want full control of the entire infrastructure that I'm going to build on. it's basically non-negotiable because I have a lot of regulatory risks that I have to tank. If so, do I prefer it to be more decentralized or actually more centralized? Actually, it's centralized. It will always be centralized, so to speak, because I need to have full control of the architecture, of the infrastructure. But if the technology I'm using is decentralized, is this better? And this is actually the question that if any one of you are in finance and you might have an opinion on it, feel free to raise your hands and express it. I think there's something that is very interesting in the context of what we're doing. So this is just a little bit about us. We have people from, I'm ex-finance, I'm ex-police force, we have people from Deloitte, etc. And I think as a company, we've been around for 6 years. I joined the company about 3.5 years ago. Now I'm the CEO. And I'm just going to leave this in the background as I leave it open to questions. But from left to right, the left part is about our developer fund. If you're a developer, if you're building something, go and take a look. In the center, we have built campaign. It's ongoing right now. Actually, the current cycle is ending at the end of September, which is tomorrow. But do take a look. Actually, we'll continue to have more campaigns. The whole idea is basically this: if you're already building something, look at reactive smart contracts. If you deploy a reactive smart contracts for whatever you're building as part of the build campaign, you can extend to win a prize. And of course, there's the unicornization on the right. It's really to submit great ideas. You don't even need to be a builder, don't even need to be a coder, anything. You have an idea, you think, hey, maybe reactive smart contracts can contribute to it. Feel free to submit your great ideas. If someone actually take it and build it, actually, we give you money. Like, that's it. And I'll just leave it here. I think, not sure if anyone of you guys have any questions for me. Yes.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, like, what's the kind of latency if you go like truly decentralized? Because that is one thing. Second thing is like when you mentioned about hooks. So is it more like React hooks, like how V4 works?
Sorry, just to understand your questions, you were asking. Can you repeat the beginning of your questions?
Yeah, so there are two questions. The first question was like, what's the latency of the execution, which is in parallel with like how the real data is coming. That is one thing. Second thing I asked is like the hooks that you mentioned to integrate, are they like React hooks and streaming hooks, just like Uniswap V4, or is it like even much better?
Thank you so much. So I think the first part of the question, let me answer that first. Latency, obviously, it depends on our block time because we are kind of structured as a kind of blockchain architecture as well. So right now, based on what the other chains are in terms of their speed, we're at 8 seconds. Why is it 8 seconds? Because we are not just servicing one single blockchain. We are basically in between layers servicing most of the EVMs. Some of the EVMs are slower, like Ethereum, because it's around for longer, it's 12 seconds. Some of it is very fast. 2 seconds seems to be the norm. We're choosing 8 seconds because it matches kind of what we need to address for both, for everything. So in other words, if you're trying to build something that's going to front run trading, you're building bots, you should just keep it as a bot. Yeah, what we're trying to address is really the real-time needs for a lot of businesses. So sort of like if you're a DEX, you don't need to front run your own things unless you have a market maker, and they're separate. But if you are running a DEX, then this is where we come from. We are running a Web3 game. You're running a social file and so on. In fact, we are going to improve it actually because I think Base this year, they're trying to move to something at 200 milliseconds. And we thought that, hey, that's the trajectory of a lot of the speed. And right now, I believe we should be getting close to something like 2 seconds, at least on our testnet. But we're going to roll it out to the mainnet, hopefully this year. And eventually, can we reach 200 milliseconds? That's possible. And I have full faith in my team because we started this space in real time, if this then that. And we could do it in 200 milliseconds. But that's off-chain, of course. Doing it on-chain is very different. It's a very different tech, very different requirements. But my team has always been specializing in real-time, high-speed kind of response. I think on the second question, in terms of like the hooks and so on, I think rather than sort of explaining it like a version 4 hooks, I sort of explain it a little bit close to back to sort of this diagram. I won't go too deep into the exact tech behind it. You can look at it, look for it in our documentations. Actually, you go to our website, you can find it. But the whole idea is actually, what do we do? From the blockchains that we're connected to, we push it. So it's push basis. Everything gets flooded. Every time something happens to them in the latest block, it pushed to our layer. And if you build a smart contract on it, we've basically tweaked the environment such that the smart contract they build on us, written in Solidity, so you don't need to learn anything new. Solidity talking to Solidity, which is on the EVMs. And it can see the events. That's not just on our layer. You can see the events on all the various blockchains that it's connected to. You can see everything that it is coded for. So you write your smart contract, say, look out for this type of events within these parameters. If you want to specify the smart contracts on which chain, you can do it, and you will run. So that is sort of a very broad summary of how this thing works. If you can see it, it can react. That's actually what we created. We created a solution at a smart contract level. And if it's at a smart contract level, you can see events, it can therefore spur more responses. And if you can spur more responses, actually we are spurring more developers and more projects to come and try new things on blockchain. Right now, all the new things that people are building are off-chain. Off-chain is developing a lot. But what's happening on-chain seems to be, we're kind of stuck in this because everyone goes straight into the making money part of building. But not many people actually put time into thinking, how do I improve the underlying tech? And that's what we are trying to do over here. Yeah, okay. I think I'm running out of time, so I guess that's the only questions. So anything, actually I'll still be around, so feel free to find me and you can ask further questions. Thank you so much.